Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
All right, good evening. It is 6 o'clock on February 24th, 2026. Meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called to order. I'm going to note for the record that this meeting is being held in person and or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Since we're on Zoom this evening, if any participant is recording this evening, please raise your hand at this time. Seeing none, I would note for the record participating in tonight's meeting are board members Liz Klein, Julie Straley, and myself, William Ramsey, Chair. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I believe we have two sets of minutes for consideration this evening. Liz and Julie, are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Yes, I did point out a misspelled name in one of the sets of minutes that I sent, but I don't think that that is material to approving the minutes unless you
Okay.
notice.
Excellent. It was minor misspelling?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. With that, I'd take a first motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated February 3rd, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. The motion carries unanimously, and I'll take a second motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated February 17th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Motion carried unanimously. That brings us to item 4 on the agenda, which is discussion and possible votes on the 2026 annual town meeting warrant articles. Just want to clarify that we have the select board has already voted to put these items on the warrant. So now we're going to vote a recommended action from the select board point of view on these articles, with the exception of our first one, which is Article MM, which is a citizen petition to amend the noise bylaw. This citizen petition, as we all know, are on the warrant with the signature, with 10 signatures of residents of the town. So I believe we have Ms. Tucko is going to present this evening. Hillary, I see you there. Hillary, I thought I saw her. Yes, she is right there. All right, Hillary, go ahead.
I gotta bring her in. I'm bringing her in now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Art.
Hi, Hillary, can you hear us?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank
Yep.
you.
Go ahead.
So first off, I would like to apologize. This is the best lighting I have in my house for you guys. And so I have doors open and stuff, and my kids are downstairs, and so I apologize in advance just for any distraction. Was
No
trying
problem
to find
at
the
all.
best
No problem.
solution. So good evening. It's very nice to see all of you for the first time in 2026. I agree. I think the roads are in very good shape. And the town has worked really hard. I ski up in Vermont, so I'm used to these type of conditions on the road. So for me, this was fun. But I know it's not for the rest of the community. I'd like to take a moment just to say thank you for your time and your continued hard work and service to this community. This is a lot in a short amount of time, and I recognize your value and efforts, and it's not an easy job. So thank you all. So to start, I have a timed 1-minute demonstration for you all. And I'll put it on my clock and it will start now. All right. So I think we can all agree that was excessive. Oh, you couldn't hear it?
Yeah, we
Couldn't
couldn't
you guys
hear it.
hear that?
No, we couldn't hear it.
You couldn't hear it.
No.
Well, the whole point is for you guys to hear it. Because I can hear it. This is so it was meant to be in person, but it's loud. And this is the problem with recordings, is that it does not give you the accuracy of what this sounds like, because the recordings, it records everything. So anyhow, unfortunately, that piece of it was for you guys to hear, and I did do some testing, so I thought that would work. But I would love to, I can stop by the select board office and show you. Anyhow, Article 42, noise control. It is a policy of the town of Hingham to prevent excessive sound which may jeopardize the health, welfare, or safety of its residents, or adversely impact their quality of life. The World Health Organization published excessive noise harms human health and interferes with people's daily activities at work, at school, at home, and during leisure time. It is no secret that many communities have been torn apart and involved with multiple lawsuits over the noise pickleball generates in residential neighborhoods. Of the roughly 19,000 registered voters in town, only 1.2% voted in favor of these courts and 1.2% of voters opposed. The select board promised oversight of this project specifically to sound. I asked this back in July, when do you step in and where is the oversight? Currently, the only conclusion and guarantee the town has regarding pickleball noise is from the Ascentec sound study stating all receptors, whether 50 feet or 1,200 feet away from the courts, will hear the sound of pickleball outside their properties. To avoid the noise, the study tells us to go inside and close our windows. I have been following the pickleball progression since January 2025 and listening to each town committee tell me that noise will not be an issue. I'm told there are many more steps to take and they probably won't get 9 courts. Noise is not in their scope, and I am passed on to the next committee, promised that that is the committee to handle it. I want to take a moment to apologize if I may come across as worked up. I'm not trying to be, but listening to this noise has heightened my fight or flight reaction, and I fight. The Rec Commission continues to work hard for the pickleball courts, but diminishes the neighbors' concern of excessive noise that will harm the health and well-being of all the neighbors of the courts. Neighbors that include town workers at the DPW and lighting plant, anyone watching or participating in a sport on Carlson Fields, or any Hingham resident trying to enjoy a quiet walk through Bear Cove Park. It really came to my surprise to learn that noise is not in the planning board's purview and does not review projects against the noise bylaws. This begs the question, Who in the town reviews the noise impact of new projects in respect to the Hingham noise bylaws? The answer as of now is no one. The whole point of this proposed amendment is to specifically refer to pickleball noise as subject to the standards for noise pollution that we have in our noise bylaw and hold the town accountable to properly installing pickleball courts that will not harm the greater Hingham community. Thank you.
Great. Hillary, thank you for the presentation and thank you for the time you put into putting this together. Let me open it up to questions from my colleagues. I'll start with Liz first.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Hillary. It's nice to see you. Thank you for all your work on this. It sounds reasonable to me. I guess my question, and maybe this is more for Bill or Tom, is this amendment necessary, or is the noise, whether it's generated by pickleball or something else, already covered in the bylaw?
That's for Bill, right?
Yeah, or Tom,
or
maybe
me.
you can answer that.
Yeah, so I think that's in the eye of the beholder. The current bylaw does attempt controlling sound noise in some ways. I think some people feel it's sufficient, other people don't. Noise is traditionally a very difficult thing to enforce and to govern. There's noise meters that you have to have. You have to have trained people to know how to use them. They need to use them for a period of time at a specific, you got to catch the noisemaker in the act, so to speak, and be able to hear it all and listen to it and record it and judge it. Those are difficult timing things for staff. Our existing noise bylaw is not traditionally, it's not been enforced that way.
Okay.
But whether or not Ms. Tutko's new proposed bylaw would be easier to enforce is a question that I've not seen answered through an analysis at the town level. But that doesn't mean that she hasn't done that work. I don't want to speak for you, Hillary.
So in regards to this, thank you. Thank you, Tom. So in regards to this would be specific to the pickleball noise. So it would be putting 100 feet, like if you which it is in compliance with Article 42, I think it's under 6B, which is written in the petition. It falls under specific noises for building. And so pickleball would be added to that as a specific noise that needs to follow specific guidelines so that the neighbors are not disrupted. Or
Okay.
any neighbor. Like that includes any neighbor, whether it's somebody enjoying Parrot Cove Park, the residents that live here, because it is a harmful noise, it is a nuisance noise.
Got it.
And
Thank you.
it will be excessive.
I can tell you, Liz, we did a noise kind of study based on a proposed citizens petition that had came up last year.
Right.
We put a task force together and evaluated that, and the results of that evaluation of what that gentleman was trying to do, which was different than what Hillary is trying to do.
Right.
But
I remember.
the result of that was very difficult to govern and to enforce. And I don't know if, like I said, I'm still not sure. I heard that this has been evaluated through the PD and the building department, all the folks that would be asked to enforce it. I'm not sure if they've opined or if they've met with Hillary or not.
I can answer that and say that they haven't.
Okay.
And I remember at town meeting that this question was brought up, and the chief of police did say that our noise bylaws does not protect against pickleball noise.
Right.
And I may have misheard, but I think it was pretty clear because that was a question that was brought up.
Okay. Thank you. I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Julie, any questions or concerns?
Oh, Liz, did you have something you wanted to finish with?
No, I was just going to say you've been much closer to this project, so pass it to you.
Thank you, Hillary, for bringing forward this article and for your careful and thorough work on all of the issues related to pickleball, bringing pickleball to the town of Hingham. And I personally am satisfied that the proposed pickleball project on Bear Cove Park Drive has all the protections and the noise mitigation built into the project, which is why I supported it. But in general, I think that I would be curious about looking into this issue more. And I'm not sure if this is something that the town could study or what form it could take. But I just looking at this, I just think it asks a lot of other questions that I think need to be looked into, including the enforcement issue.
Julie, thank you. Yeah, so I guess, so I very much appreciate, where you're coming from, Hillary, as an abutter to this project, and your concern is absolutely legitimate. So I get where you're coming from. The noise bylaw is a very, very, very problematic bylaw. I have dealt with residents on this issue. I've dealt with the police department helping with this issue. I've dealt with Mike Clancy's frustration about enforcing the current noise bylaw. Personally, I think it was created at a time in town as a reaction to something that wasn't well thought of and wasn't well done. So I would be concerned about adding to that, to a bylaw that I don't think can be very much enforced or wasn't drafted very well. I say that respectfully to the people who worked on it. Also, you might know this, Hillary, but the current version of the noise bylaw does say that activities permitted by the town are excluded, right? So the pickleball courts are going to go through the special permit review process of both the zoning board and the planning board. So under the permitting process, that would exclude, I think, what you're trying to do here, and it might create an internal conflict with the existing bylaw. And I did speak with town council this afternoon to confirm my read of the existing bylaw, and he agreed with me that it could create a form of an internal conflict. So I encourage you to continue when it goes to the planning board process for the special permit A3, and it goes to the zoning board for their review of it, to hold them to the standard that the rec commission has discussed in terms of the mitigation. And as an abutter, I would be doing that too. I would make sure that they're held to the standard that has been the town meeting agreed to, that the rec commission has agreed to, that the sounds that will come from this court are mitigated to the maximum extent possible so that the quality of life of abutters to this property is not harmed in any way. So that's kind of like where I'm at with it.
May I speak?
Yeah, sure.
And thank you all. I appreciate your guidance and your discussion on this. And I guess how do we step forward with that? Because I continue to join meetings, being included or trying to be included on these public meetings as to how the noise is mitigated. And when I sit in these meetings, no one is talking about the noise. We talk about how important it is, and I understand that you guys have sat in a lot of these, and pickleball is a nuisance noise. Like we all know this, and unfortunately you couldn't hear it on the recording. But if you've sat there near a court, it's loud, and we live. And what's really cool about Hingham is that every neighborhood seems to have kind of like this conservation area, and it's quiet. It's so quiet. And originally I was going to compare the pickleball to tennis to show the difference, but clearly that didn't work regardless. But it's comparing pickleball to silence. We have silence right now. And in our town bylaw, it says that that's something that we, in the noise bylaw, that's something that the town is supposed to protect us from. And I just don't understand where the planning is. It's like the elephant in the room that nobody's talking about, and it should be the first thing that everybody's talking about, and these special permits. And so that's why I said, listening to the planning board discussing another project about putting in pickleball courts in World's End And the planning board said that's not their purview. So whose scope does it fall under? And now you're saying that it is going to the zoning committee, which is great, but how is it enforced without being called out in the bylaw? And who's enforcing it?
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. So the noise bylaw is currently enforced by Mike Clancy, who's the building commissioner. And he has emphasized that it's really challenging to do it. And he does not believe he gets an accurate read. He does the best he can with it. But in terms of what's been promised by the town meeting vote and the rec commission, it really does fall under the purview of the permitting boards, which would be zoning and planning. I can't speak specifically to the permitting of the process. I know the Concom's reviewing it now. I don't know where it is, where it sits with those other two boards, to be candid with you, but they are the permitting boards, and they are the ones that would ensure that what the town meeting vote required and what the rec commission is promising actually happens.
In the select board, and then Julie, that's when you would chime in as well. And I guess, Julie, how do you oversee, because and it's the select board, right? And Julie's the one leading this project. So then how does Julie come into this, and how do you plan? Is it just that you take the recommendations from your boards? Because it just continues to get passed along.
Well, the select board doesn't permit the project, but we're not a permitting board. That falls to zoning and planning, but I'm happy to let Julie answer that if she can.
Right, the select board is overseeing and making sure as the project goes through the permitting process and that the Recreation Commission adheres to building the project as promised, with the noise mitigation in place that was promised and expected to be put in place.
So regarding the noise mitigation, right? So there's a little over $2 million that's going towards this project.
Yeah, so Hillary, we're here tonight to hear your article.
Yeah,
we're not here to get into these details. I mean, we can, you're happy to have a follow-up conversation with either myself, Liz, or Julie, but we're here to hear your citizens.
You're right.
And we're going to stop there. So,
yeah.
All right.
And again, I appreciate you all.
Listen, your concerns are valid. They very, very much are. Did anybody have any public comment on this article this evening? I see Clark Frazier's hand up. Clark, go ahead.
All right, let me unmute.
By the way, Clark, you have 2 minutes. I'm holding people to 2 minutes tonight. We have a
I'll try to be brief. Clark Frazier, 50 Bonnie Briar Circle. I saw this and I thought I better show up. I was at one time in Boston, actually on a commission for 6 years, that regulated noise in the city of Boston. I have a couple of observations. Number one, I called the police twice about leaf blowers, and both times they came, they do not have a noise meter. So if Clancy does, I didn't know that. But the point is that you need, just skimmed Article 42. This thing doesn't mesh because you have no enforcement mechanism. There's nothing in the town that I could see that enforces anything the planning board does. So my recommendation would be that you come up with some functional requirements. I spoke to Joe Fisher about this briefly, and I said, what you need to do for something like, let's say, leaf blowers, you can't have your neighbor come by with 8 leaf blowers. You have to get the ratings of any type of equipment and then provide a functional definition of how much it can be used. And to do the same thing with pickleball, it may be that 1 court or 2 courts would be fine, but 10 courts would not be because of the intensity of the noise. So it's a complicated thing. I feel that our noise control bylaw needs to be completely rewritten. I know they worked on it in 2013, but it's not functional. Tom is right. But the police have no way of enforcing it. I can't get a building department out, in the middle of the night. They certainly don't enforce parties. So I think that if you could come up with a functional definition of how many pickleballs, because this,
Mark, you have 30 seconds.
This says 100 feet, and that's kind of vague. I'd like to see something actually done in terms of noise levels, decibels, like normal regulations would have. That's whether it's 60 or 80 or whatever decibel level you want for night and for day. and specify what that is. So if somebody did have a measuring device that could measure it.
Thank you, Clark. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Time has expired. Thank you for the comments.
Thank you.
All right. Don't see anybody else. So I would turn to Liz and Julie. I sensing we have concession on this matter. So I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend no action on Article MM.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
and I as well. Motion carries unanimously. Again, Haley, best of luck with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Article P, which is construction of the Center for Active Living. We have Jennifer Young with us and Tom Carey, who are going to present this evening. I just want to let people know, I don't anticipate the board voting on this matter tonight. I think it's important for us to hear the presentation and to deliberate. We are going to meet on Thursday night, and I anticipate calling for a vote on Thursday night. But tonight, we're just going to hear the presentation. Consider it for 48 more hours, and we'll probably vote Thursday night. Julie and Liz, that sound okay to you too?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. You want me to turn it over to Tom Carey or Jennifer? Why don't we start with Tom Carey first? You're the chair, so go ahead. Thought I saw him on the call. There he is.
Did you call on me, Bill?
You are up. You're the chair, so you get to go first, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I don't have a lot to add to the wealth of material that we've already submitted to you, and to all of the information that has been published on the website regarding the work of the committee, as well as our previous appearances. And the committee strongly supports the article. It's the product of years of consideration by the committee as well as by other committees and other groups and the Council on Aging over the years. It's long overdue. The size has been a question, and we have reduced it from the size as it was initially. And we have gotten as much use out of the space as we can. There's no there's no wish list here. Everything that's in this is targeted to provide the kind of services and activities that are customary and standard throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for senior centers. The space is quite efficient. The standard that architects use for whether you've done a good job of making the usable space as great as you can and minimizing the unusable but necessary space for closets and mechanicals and everything. And applying those criteria, this building comes out as a very efficient building. There has been discussion and debate about, well, are these programs needed? Do you really need a lecture hall where people can give dissertations and so on, or watch a movie? Well, the answer is those sorts of activities are fundamental to every damn senior center in the Commonwealth. Routinely, there are programs run out of Bridgewater for continuing education. Speakers come in. I've spoken in a number of senior centers. It works much better if you've got a dedicated space with seating that permits you to take notes and makes it feel more like a presentation. Films and other sorts of videos with information are a routine part of what is done. So the kinds of programs, there's a line around for those who work in this business that if you've seen one senior center, you've seen them all, because you haven't seen them all. You've only seen one. The reason is the Commonwealth encourages towns to be very flexible in what sorts of programs they give, and to use the programs that seem most suitable to the community. We have a crackerjack director of the senior center in Hingham, and the kind of programming she's doing is superb, and it's all material that the people in Hingham need. As to whether this is a wishful thing, this is what we wish for, or something we need, I point you to the governor's announcement that this providing these sort of services in better and more fully to our senior citizens is one of the top priorities of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So we all know locally that the 5,000 square feet that we put together at Town Hall in 1998 was too small in less than a decade. And it is surely too small when we're almost 30 years out. So the need is well established. I think town meeting has recognized that. The design has been done by a couple of top professionals. The sort of format and material and what's in it has been reviewed. One of the members of the committee is herself associated with UMass, and goes around the Commonwealth checking on various senior centers to see if they're doing well. And we've got her imprimatur, the vice chair. So for all of these reasons, I would urge you on behalf of the committee, and I know I speak on behalf of the Council on Aging as well, to support Article P. Thank you.
Tom, thank you very much for the presentation. I know we were going to have Jennifer present this evening, but I've heard that she's having connectivity issues and power issues related to the storm. Tom, is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do is, Tom, can you have her present in person on Thursday night? And I believe Tom Mayo, have her present.
Yes.
And then
Yep.
I believe you're going to do a further presentation as well.
Right.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So we will take some public comment this evening. Going to ask everybody to state your name and address and hold your comments to 2 minutes, as there are a lot of people on the call. So why don't we start with Maureen Spillane?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Because I'm not a big Zoom person, but I'm learning. So my name is Maureen Spillane. I live at 3404 Tuckers Lane in Hingham Woods. And I actually retired about 3 years ago. And I started coming to the senior center. And I just want to say, I appreciate all the hard work everyone has done to promote our new senior center, or Center for Active Living, as we like to call it. But I have seen people come in, and I know I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to talk really fast.
Yeah, actually,
I have seen people come in that are depressed, that have lost someone in their life, that don't know what to do because they're retired, and I just see how much our center helps them. I'm a retired nurse, so this is a very good way for me to still do what I like to do. But another thing is I also see programs that have waiting lists. I see programs that are canceled because we don't have enough space. And this is why we need a new center. And I really feel if we build it, they will come. Like we had someone say the other day, I never come to the senior center. Well, why don't you come? Why don't you come? And I think once we get our new center with all those programs and the parking, and I just think it's going to be wonderful. So I hope you vote for us. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Maureen, thank you very much for the comments there. Appreciate it. All right,
Thank you.
see. Next, I'm going to call on, is it Jessica Nisi? Believe we heard from you last week as well. All right, Jessica, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, this is Jessica Nisi. I think you heard from my husband last week. I'm Jessica Nisi. I'm at 133 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. And I just wanted to know, this is a quick question. How did the town come to a determination that we need so many other towns, Pembroke, Norwell, have built comprehensive community centers that have room functions that are really similar to the proposed Center for Active Living, art rooms, multi-purpose rooms, lecture rooms. And a lot of those type of rooms we don't have for the rest of the town. There are no rooms that I know of, for dirty art or clean art or similar to some of these media rooms. And the multi-purpose room would be really useful for a lot of other town functions, for Hingham Rec, for Hingham schools, perhaps for after-school activities. So I just want to know how the town came to the conclusion that this should be exclusively a senior center, and if you guys did any cost determinations to see whether this could be a comprehensive community center instead of just a center for active living, especially because it seems to me like this is only open on weekdays during working hours. So a comprehensive community center could be open on the weekends to everybody, could be open after school to everybody, and still get the same amount of senior activities.
Jessica, thank you for the question. Tom Carey, do you want to take that one? I know you studied that, the model of the Cal and what will be going on there.
Sure. The charge we have had from the town officials from town meeting has been to focus on a Cal. We did consider, as we were going through the process over the last couple of years, the so-called expanded community center kind of approach. We looked at a couple of them. A recent one down in Pembroke is essentially a fairly new one like that. And really, when we toured it, the bulk of it is simply a senior center, and it's got a gymnasium added on. If one goes to a full-scale building that has activities that intermingle, you get into some operational difficulties. So the charge we had all along was to focus on a center for active living and not to expand into the broader community center. Many towns that have those big community centers were lacking were lacking options anywhere else. They didn't have them. Here we already have a rec department. We have schools. We have the activities in the library. And the fact that we're calling it the CAL does not necessarily in any way prohibit or restrict the ability of the town. It's a town facility. It's a town building. If it turns out that there are some weekend activities that would be appropriate and suitable, I'm sure Tom Mayo will arrange to have it done.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Do you have a follow-up question, Jessica?
Oh, I mean, I guess I understand that the committee's mandate was to just focus on a senior center, and I understand the need for that is really strong, but other programs in town also have significant wait lists, and I just wanted to know if the town itself determined that for the 50-year life of this center that, the existing Hingham Rec indoor facilities are sufficient, that, we have sufficient general art space, we have sufficient,
Art, can you mute non-speakers?
I was determined.
Yeah, let's just try to mute non-speakers if we can. Not Jessica. She was speaking, non-speaker.
Sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah, I was speaking.
Yeah,
Sorry. I muted myself. I mean, that's basically it. Did we do a, cost determination and a general facility determination that the existing indoor, sorry, my daughter's speaking, the indoor rec space that we have and the indoor art space that we have is sufficient for the town, and that a combined model where the center was run by the Council on Aging and Hingham Rec wasn't, a viable model, or just, did we at least consider that model in the process, and where did we consider that or cost it out?
Yeah, so it was definitely discussed along the process. I mean, I would obviously Tom Carey is the person who kind of was running point this entire time on it. But I mean, it is certainly going to be primary purpose. Definitely going to be a center, a senior center, a center for active living. I think as if this is fortunate enough to be built, we would definitely not rule out using this outside of daily hours, and definitely wouldn't rule out, without a doubt, allowing other groups to go in there and benefit from it. I think Tom Carey's point that the senior center is the primary focus, but I would submit to you as a select board member that, yeah, we would look at using this for other groups, or definitely outside of daily hours. So thank you for the question and for making a very important point. All right, let's go next to Diane DiNapoli.
Hi, Bill, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Diane.
Thank you, Bill. I'm Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. Thank you for taking my question. My question is a little bit to Tom Carey, the chair. I want to thank him for his years of service and work in the committee. And I just want to put something maybe in a little different light, since the committee and the many are so close to this. I want to think of how a regular customer or person in town might look at this. Although there's been 5 years of R&D, I think many people only saw a rough product in July of 2025. And in August, there was a reduction, 10% in the footprint. And then after that, whether there were AdCom and select board and residents suggested perhaps other modifications that might change the footprint, which would likely reduce the cost. That did not come to fruition. And I guess my question was, do we have money left in the budget for design rework? Should that be requested at another point? Was that one reason that nothing seemed to change of substance past August? Or could we just hear now, is there any flexibility, even moving forward past town meeting, to modify plans should that come to need? Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. So the question on the balance on the design money account that was voted on from fund balance last spring. I think that's your question, what the balance is on that account, the design
Yes.
money? Great. Tom, that's a good question for Tom Mayo.
Hi, Bill. Yeah, so is the question, well, Diane, if you could just, I just want to make sure I'm answering exactly what you're asking, because I'm hearing a couple of different questions.
So I think what she's saying is the 2.5 million in fund balance that was voted on and approved at town meeting that we've put toward design cost. I think what she's asking is, what's the balance on that account?
So right now there's about a little over 2 million in that account right now, unbilled, not necessarily unused, just unbilled. But the problem, Diane, is that money was restricted, and it's in the articles and the motions at town meeting. The first one was restricted to town-owned property in general, the $500,000, the initial 500. That has all been expended. The second appropriation was restricted to the site on Bear Cove Park Drive specifically. So to the extent we are, if necessary, looking to put more design work into that site, and the center being located on that site, then I think that money, if any unspent balance would be able to be spent on that project. But if it's on any other site, it would not be. Is that
So
clear?
just to clarify though, since there weren't any major changes past August that I recall, that wasn't due to a lack of money to make those changes. That was a choice of the building committee to not make any other reductions in footprint. Is that correct?
I'd let Tom answer that.
Yes, we did. We looked very carefully at it. We considered all of the suggestions that had been made. And some of which were simply, they thought that there would be a significant savings, but there actually wouldn't be. Others were, in the committee's judgment, shrinking the building to a point where it would not be as productive as we thought it should be. So we did go through it. It did remain the size it is because in our judgment and the judgment of the architect, that's the right size for what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, thank you.
Diane, thank you for the question. All right, let's go to Clark Fraser.
Clark Fraser, 50 Bonnie Briar Circle. I'm not going to make any comment directly on the project because I have other who feel conflicted about it, as I have things to do relative to it. But I am concerned about one thing just on the boundary of the project, and it's more a town thing, and that's to get an agreement to build a sidewalk to connect from the DPW to the perimeter of the project. I walk a lot. I've walked a lot in Bear Cove Park, and the way I would get there, if I went there, would be on foot. And I would like not to have to walk in that road. And then the other thing for the committee is I saw some problems with the layout of the driveways, which I'd like to discuss with somebody, but I don't need to do it now. That's it. Thank you.
Clark, thank you for the comments. They're appreciated. All right, I think Anita is the last person with her hand up, so we'll go to Anita Ryan.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I've a question and then a comment. A question, am I remembering something that when the Hershey house was sold, those proceeds were set aside for town hall? And then am I correct that some of those proceeds were in fact used for the public safety facility under the thinking that, well, getting the police out of town hall and building the public safety would actually benefit those in town hall? Am I misremembering, or does anyone recall that?
That's an excellent question. And I remember when I first got on the board that we had this line item in our budget that was, there was a couple million. It was a Hershey House sale proceeds, and it was earmarked for a special purpose. But I totally forget what it was for. Tom, can you speak to that?
Yeah, Bill, I was just you took the words out of my mouth. Listen, there was a lot of money that was in restricted fund balance that we could use, but only for a certain purpose. We did end up using it. I don't remember exactly the Anita. I could look it up, but I could find out for you easy enough. But I don't remember exactly the narrative or the purpose that accompanied the use of it. But I could find that out for you easy enough.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, quickly, my comment will be, this won't be a shock to anyone, a surprise. I am not supportive of this proposal that is before us now. I am all in favor of a vibrant, wonderful senior center. I don't think the one before us is the right one for Hingham. It costs $30 million. That is a significant amount. The site costs alone are between $6 and $8 million. The town of Newton, a population of 90,000 people, just opened their brand new senior center that costs millions less than ours. Thank you.
All right, Nita, thank you for the comments. All right, looks like that's it. And as I noted earlier, we're not going to take a vote on this matter tonight. We will hear further presentation, and I anticipate a vote on Thursday evening. So thanks, everybody. All right, that takes us to our next item on the agenda, which is Article FF, which is a healthcare subsidy article. And Tom, are you going to take this one?
Yes. Hold on just one second while I go to my page. So this is an article that was prompted by several factors, not the least of which is the conversations that were held between myself and my employees over the last 10 years, but also I think from the experience of members of the personnel board who've raised this as an ongoing concern of the unions that the personnel board helps us or assists us with negotiating the collective bargaining agreements for. So right now, the background is that the town of Hingham is what's referred to as a 50-50 community. The town covers 50% of healthcare costs and the employees cover the other 50%. In addition to that, we are members of the Group Insurance Commission, which is the GIC, and it is a state subsidized healthcare option for municipal governments and the state. The state maintains control over the program. They also subsidize that program as expenses skyrocket. So we are in perhaps the most affordable healthcare plan available to us, and we are paying the least amount available in or allowable by law of 50% of those costs. And like I said, this has been an ongoing request of the unions and employees in general, not just unions, also non-union employees, for a very long time. So the idea of this article is to not change the nature of the 50-50 program of the town. This is a recognition that that program is difficult, that in an era like we're in right now, where healthcare costs are increasing, skyrocketing, frankly, on an annual basis at a rate that has not been seen before. This is an acknowledgement of the hardship on our employees to continue to pay their high healthcare costs. So what this is an article attempting to do is to cover the healthcare costs, about 10% of the healthcare costs that the insured employees currently pay, which would in essence, move our share from 50% to 60%, and the employees' share from 50% to 40%, for 1 year and 1 year only. This is an acknowledgement of a financial and economical reality that healthcare costs are very difficult for our employees to absorb. I believe that this will help with our retention and recruitment efforts. There's a question out there that I think the board has heard, but the question of whether or not this would be have to be recurring year over year until it is permanently corrected. That may come to fruition. I don't know if it will or not. A lot happens over the course of a year. I can tell you that and I have met with the union representatives and the representatives of the non-union employees, and to a person, there has been support for the town attempting to help on their healthcare costs. So, even if it's just this 1 year, this is something that would matter to the employees. It will matter to morale. The people that are out there plowing our streets during a storm like this, right now, they have very high healthcare costs. Often the healthcare costs, the increase in healthcare costs exceed their cost of living adjustment, annual cost of living adjustment that the town provides. So that year over year, the employee is actually taking home fewer dollars. So this is happening. It's a problem. We need to try to find a way to make this a more palatable employment option for our dedicated employees.
Tom, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, I will start off for the board. I am in full support of this article. I have spoken, so many town employees I've spoken with have continually brought up the fact that the town of Hingham is one of the worst healthcare shared costs in the entire state. Members of the personnel board have brought this up to me They've told me that it comes up on in every negotiation as a starting point with the unions. I've spoken with many teachers I know, members of the school committee, teachers union. They also expressed concerns about how low we are. I mean, we are one of the lowest in the state. I believe that we can do better by our town employees. Healthcare we're in a healthcare crisis nationally, a healthcare crisis in Massachusetts. We need to try to do better. This is one step to do better. Obviously, it's as Tom said, we're going to be using fund balance, so it's going to it will come back up again. But if there's a year to do it, it's this year. We have $11 million in excess unassigned fund balance. I'm committed to improving healthcare for our employees. I think it would help with retention. It will help with negotiations. And I think most importantly, it's the right thing to do. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liz.
Thanks, Bill, and thank you, Tom. I was the liaison for this task force that we committed last year to further studying healthcare and the healthcare costs. So I was honored to be part of that work. This certainly is not a long-term solution, but given the rising healthcare costs and the healthcare crisis that you mentioned, Bill, that we're experiencing nationally, I think this is a good interim step. It's a step in the process, moving forward. I do just want to make sure that the language is clear, and maybe it will be clarified in the comment or the recommended motion, but there's a specific amount of money that we're budgeting to cover the costs that the insured would typically pay. So technically it gets them to the 60%, but I just want to be clear about that the split isn't technically changing. It's that the town will be paying a sum of money to the GIC on behalf of our employees.
That's exactly right.
Okay, no, I fully support this. No other questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. We turn to Julie.
Thanks, Bill. Tom, can you give a little bit more flavor to what the consultant came up with in terms of ideas for potential ways to do better by healthcare, or some of the findings that the consultant conclusions that the consultant came to regarding Hingham currently?
Sure. Specifically, are you thinking about the wellness plan and the kind of where that came from, and our position with regards to other potential insurers?
Both.
Okay. So we did do, Liz, what was it? Probably 6 months, 8 months worth of research. We've hired a consultant. They did a vast amount of data gathering and analysis on that data that basically it came to the conclusion that Hingham was virtually uninsurable by any other insurance program other than the state mandated insurance program, that the program that's mandated by the state to accept any municipal government that requests it in the GIC. The reason for that is because our claims are about 107% of our premium paid. And in order to change that, we would have to drop that down to 90% or lower. One of the things we had talked about as a team was to try to find a potential wellness program that could change that, so that we, in the future, should we want to, address options of the healthcare options for the community, we could potentially consider or be considered by other insurance companies or insurance options. Right now we can't, but if we become a healthier organization, A, I guess we're healthier, and B, we would have potentially more insurance options. So I think that's one program that we did look at quite a bit. Art, help me out. What else did we look at?
I think our point of departure, if I may, was, as you pointed out, Tom, just figuring out if we had an alternative to the GIC. And I think we found that essentially, given our cost ratio, meaning our costs exceeding our premiums, we're just not attractive to other insurers. And we tested that, reaching out to several different potential insurers, and we didn't either get responses, or I think in the case of one, there was a level of interest, but our premiums would rise in the 30% range. So that really limited our courses of action with regard to health insurance. Not having access to other insurers who could possibly provide a relief or a better deal, on the health insurance payments. That's what led us to talk about different approaches to the town employee split. And we, as you indicated, we did explore different approaches to wellness programs that could potentially be of assistance in that regard, but really haven't found anything that can decisively move the needle.
And just to be clear, Julie, and I think you know this, the article before us that is not contemplated in any way to help with that wellness plan. That's other research that we've done that resulted. We are speaking actively with the unions and non-union groups to try to find ways to spend what we refer to as our mitigation dollars, the money that was saved. I believe it was the money that was saved from the move from in 2017 or so from the Mayflower Health Group to the GIC. Money was saved. That money was poured back into a mitigation dollar per the law, mitigation account per the law, and that money can be spent in ways that the Public Employees Commission, the union members, decide is appropriate. And that's what we're talking to them about right now, is whether or not a wellness program makes sense, or if there are other ideas on how to spend that money. The problem is that money's not enough to move the needle on the healthcare split or the cost of healthcare.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Art.
You're welcome.
I am in favor of this article. I think I look back to, it was many years ago when the town made the decision to go to 50-50 healthcare in an effort to save money in the budget. I think that the town thought that there would be other peer communities who would follow suit, and that didn't happen. And Hingham's been kind of at the bottom of the pile in terms of its healthcare split and its offerings. And so this article is an acknowledgement that we as a town could do better and should do better by our employees to help retain and attract quality employees. It makes the town competitive and attractive. And eventually we would want to work towards putting competitive benefits as part of our annual operating budget. This is currently a one-time stipend, but I think that the intent is to think forward in the future when we can adjust our benefits as we are able to afford. And with this article, I'm curious about whether in the future, if we can do some kind of study and analysis to look at our benefits, what makes the town competitive, and study, is moving to 60-40 permanently someday the answer, or what other analysis we could do on our benefits that would help inform our decisions and making permanent decisions in the future.
So, Julie, I've done a little bit of research on that. I've spoken with our healthcare provider, Pat Harridan, who gave me a rough estimate of cost to do that type of analysis. What I've laid out was perhaps an in-depth analysis of our 19 town comparisons and their different union contracts and how all of these towns are compensated. And like you say, really get a better picture of a compensation survey and compensation study. He suggested that his firm actually does that work, but that a cost of that type of work would be in the ballpark of $75,000. So if we wanted to add to this scope, I could speak to the liaison at advisory and see if they were interested in adding that scope to their motion.
Well, I think it would be a good idea to, starting from this point, working with the stipend, hopefully getting it passed to town meeting this year, but also in hand doing analysis for looking forward to the future. I'm not sure how Bill and Liz would feel about that.
I think it's a great suggestion. Excellent. Liz, do you want to?
No, I think it's a good suggestion. I think some of that work has been done. So I guess I would just want to understand what the additional scope would be that would be
Right.
warrant the 75,000. But yes, I think that's the next logical or logical next step.
Yeah, it was a super preliminary, kind of conversational estimate, without a detailed scope. We'd have to work that out. You're right, Liz.
All right. Well, I think the three of us are in agreement. Julie, that's an excellent suggestion. Thank you. I think the three of us are in agreement with that. Tom, what I'd ask you to do is just circle back with Tom Coughlin tomorrow, see if Julie's recommendations is within the scope. If we need to amend it, we can vote it Thursday night before it goes over the advisory committee for their opinion on it.
Will do.
All right. Excellent comments from my colleagues. Thank you very much. All right. Let's take some public comment. Let's start with, I know Matt Curran had his hand up first, and we'll go to Matt, then we'll go to Jackie. So Matt, go ahead. Matt, just you name an address and you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
It's actually Margaret. Can you hear me?
Margaret, good evening. Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Margaret Curran, 9 Harborview Drive. Thank you for taking time to let me talk about this. I am in my 18th year as a teacher at Hingham Middle School, and I am respectfully advocating for this stipend. Over the past 2 years, my health insurance premium has increased dramatically. From 2023 to 2024, it went up 8.8%. From 2024 to 2025, it increased another 14%. Those are not small gradual adjustments. They are significant jumps in a row. And when compounded, they represent an increase of nearly 24% in just 2 years. That growth far outpaces typical salary increases and puts real pressure on working families. While we understand that health insurance costs are rising everywhere, the structure of a 50-50 split means teachers absorb those increases at the exact same rate as the town, regardless of income level. With my increase that I received last year, the increase in my health insurance was 52% of that increase. For many teachers, especially those early in their careers, raising young families, or living in the very community they serve, this is becoming increasingly unsustainable. Moving to the 60-40 split because of the stipend would not eliminate rising costs, but it would meaningfully stabilize the financial reality for educators. It would help retain experienced teachers as well as other town employees, support recruitment in all areas, demonstrate that Hingham values their town employees as long-term professionals, and provide predictable relief in the face of a volatile health insurance market. All of us as town employees are asked to show up every day to be steady, patient, innovative, and invested employees, and stability matters across our town. Stability for teachers begins with financial security and manageable benefits, as well as for other town employees. With the increase of 14% in a single
Margaret, you have
year.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay, employees have no ability to negotiate that number. With respect, this request is about fairness, sustainability, and long-term investment in Hingham employees. I understand this represents a financial commitment, but I'd ask you to consider the cost of turnover, recruitment, and declining morale. Thank you for your time and for your leadership and your thoughtful consideration. I appreciate the complexity of your role and care that you bring to these decisions.
Margaret, thank you for the comments. Let's go to Jackie Beaupre.
Hi, Jacqueline Beaupre. I'm the president of the Hingham Education Association, the union for the majority of staff members at Hingham Public Schools. And I just wanted to, since you're all clearly in favor, thank you for your consideration of this. As you said, health insurance costs have been increasing a lot over the last couple of years, and it's been hitting staff members particularly hard. So from a negotiation standpoint, it's making it very, very challenging as we're having to ask for particularly high COLAs to try and make up for some of this difference, this like huge increase in in health insurance costs. So I'm hoping that, this is part of a longer term process to make 60-40 split a permanent part of the operating budget, like Julie was saying. So that way we can have hopefully some easier negotiations and not having to like battle this insurance problem as much. And I know it'll also significantly help with retention, especially of brand new staff. Our paraeducators, for example, they have been tomorrow is going to be the third day that they're going to go without pay because they don't have snow days paid. And our food service workers, I think tomorrow is the first day that they're going to go without pay. So they're going to start having negative paychecks because of the cost of health insurance, which is a mind-blowing reality for someone to have to pay your employer to work. So I think reducing the cost of insurance would be really welcome and would, really, really help with morale. So thank you very much.
Jackie, thank you for the comments. All right, we have one last hand up. Last name is Tablet.
Bill, it's actually Sue Eddy.
Oh, Sue. Hey, Sue. All right, go to Sue Eddy. So Art, I think it's under the name Fire Tablet.
Can you hear me?
Sue, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not good at the Zoom stuff, but I really appreciate you guys doing all this tonight. I love what I'm hearing that, it seems to be supported by everyone. I'm a longtime employee of the town and it is a huge issue. And I love the two people from the school committee and the teacher who spoke, I think, what a lot of employees feel. We're really feeling these costs, as most of us are. Julie, I like the fact of you're talking about what you were talking about and looking at things a little further. I think it's great for a one-time thing, but it does need to be looked at for something further down the road. The town really needs to invest in their employees. I spoke to a customer recently who had no idea that our benefits, what they were. He thought we got a lot better benefits. So I don't even think townspeople know what we get. But I do think it's a huge deal for the town and for employees especially. I do have one question because some people have asked me, does this at all affect retirees? It may not in this particular one-time thing, but would in the future anything looked at also affect retirees, which again will affect the bottom dollar. But again, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
Bill, you want me to answer
that? Please.
Yes, this number that's contemplated is for active employees only.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, seeing no further hands up, I think sounds like I've got consensus from my colleagues. So with that, I would make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article FF.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to suspend the balance of our discussion on agenda item 4. I don't want to keep the advisory committee waiting. I know I see a lot of them on the call right now. So my plan, Julie and Liz, is to move to agenda items 5 and 6, and then we can return to pick up where we're leaving off. You have any objection to that, Liz?
No, that's fine.
Julie?
No, it's a good plan. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we will now move to item 5 on the agenda, which is a joint session with the Community Preservation Committee and the Advisory Committee. We will take up Article M, which is Community Preservation Committee recommendations and possible vote. Before I do that, let me turn to the respective chairs of both of those committees so they can call their meetings to order, and they are welcome to adopt the language regarding remote meetings, which I've already read into the record. So let me turn to Carol Tully first, our Advisory Committee Chair. Carol, are you there?
I think she needs to be made a panelist.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows, there's a delay between when you click it and it happens.
No problem. Yeah, Art, if you could promote Carol and Nancy, that'd be great.
All right, can you hear me now? Thank you. So calling the meeting of the advisory committee to order and adopt the language previously read by the chair of the select board.
Thank you. Nancy, go ahead.
I don't believe I have a quorum, but I will, in case we get one, I will call the Community Preservation Committee to order and adopt your language previously read.
Excellent. Well, thank you. This is one of my favorite joint sessions of the entire year. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Nancy.
Thank you. Nancy McDonald, 190 High Street. Thank you for having me. I am currently serve as the chair of the Community Preservation Committee and am here to present on the committee's behalf. And I had sent over slides. I don't know if you have them or do you want me? There they are. All right. So I will start on slide 2. Thank you. The Community Preservation Act, a little bit of history, was enacted by the Massachusetts legislature in 2000 and was adopted by Hingham in 2001. Our funding comes from 1.5% surcharge on the real estate tax levy, supplemented by distributions from the Commonwealth's Community Preservation Trust Fund. The Act provides revenue for projects that fit 3 buckets: affordable housing, historic preservation, and recreation/open space. Each project must meet a defined set of criteria specific to the category, and at least 10% of funds must go to each of the 3 categories. Additionally, the Act allows the town to take on debt, which is repaid using CPC funds. And you might recall that we did this for the Lerner property purchase as well as acquisition of the Benjamin Lincoln House on behalf of the Historic Society, as well as others. Next slide. CPC has a number of North Star documents that we use to guide our decision making, and those include the CPC process manual, the town's master plan and housing plan, the fields and outdoor courts study, and the town's open space and recreation plans. The total CPC budget to spend on FY27 grants is $1,863,538. $1,645,538, so just over $1.6 million came from the tax levy, and $259,540 came from the state match. We have requests totaling just over $2 million representing, and I'm sorry, we had requests of just over $2 million, which was $195,000 over what we had in our budget. So our recommendation, however, what we finally came to and voted on and what you're seeing here, our recommendations exceed the 10% requirement in each category. We recommend 58% of the budget towards community housing, 20% of the budget towards historic preservation, and 28% towards open space and recreation. 2% of the budget is allocated for administrative expenses. Next slide. So this is the article that was submitted to the select board for inclusion in the warrant, and just a little bit about our process. We began on July 1st when the application process opens, and preliminary applications are due in September. We received 8 applications and all of them were determined to be valid and allowed to move forward. Final applications were then due in October. We received 6 applications. 2 of the original applications were withdrawn. We met then 5 times over the next 3 months to hear presentations from the proponents, to go on site visits, and have our own deliberations. And this culminated in our final vote on January 14th with our recommendations to town meeting. And I'm happy to report that we were able to reach consensus for all the projects that we voted on, and our recommended votes were unanimous. So now I'll walk through each of those 8 projects in detail. The first two are the CPC Administrative Fund and the debt payment. CPC recommends appropriating $40,000 for the CPC Administration Fund, and that is well within the 5% cap allowed by law. And this covers dues, legal fees, and administrative support that we get through the year. Any unspent administrative funds are returned to the CPC General Fund at the end of the year, and those can be used on any future projects in the future. CPC recommends using $209,179 for the learner land debt payment. This is a requirement. We can neither underpay or overpay on this debt, and that debt is scheduled to retire in 2031. Next slide. And the next one is the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust. Their mission is to preserve, support, and develop affordable housing. The master plan calls for the trust to contribute 5 affordable units per year with a goal of 50 units by 2031. CPA funds are the trust's primary recurring revenue source, and this year we recommend $605,487 for the trust's opportunity fund. Next, we recommend $299,572 for the roof replacement project at the Hingham Housing Authority property at 30 Thaxter Street. This property provides housing for low-income elderly and disabled residents. And the project includes a new 30-year asphalt roof system, gutters, and downspouts for 8 buildings. The Commonwealth has determined that roofing projects are an appropriate use of CPC funds. And you'll note that the total project cost here is just under $600,000. HHA will pursue matching funds provided through the state high leverage asset preservation program, and they are confident that they will get that match. Next, we have the Victory statue, also colloquially known as the Iron Horse statue restoration. We're recommending $30,300 for the restoration of the Iron Horse. This project was submitted by the Hingham Historical Commission. And this project wins my 2026 Best Fun Fact Award because the statue was created in 1929 by 2 women sculptors, Mrs. Theodore Alice Kitson and her daughter Dorothy. And it serves to commemorate Hingham residents who served in the armed forces. So this iconic artwork overlooking the Hingham bathing beach has suffered from coastal weather and vandalism, and the project will document, clean, polish, and wax the statue to preserve it for future generations. Our next project is at the Grand Army Hall, and we are recommending $160,000 for the replacement of the elevator at Grand Army Hall, which was submitted by the Veteran Services. The current elevator is unreliable and costly, requiring restorations every month, repairs every month. It's become very costly to maintain, forcing the building to close when it's out of service, as the building is not ADA compliant without the elevator in operation. The new elevator will include a modern control system, an operating panel, and power unit, ensuring accessibility and continued use of this important community building. Next is the John Thaxter House restoration / preservation. And we are recommending $185,500 for the restoration and preservation of the John Thaxter House, better known as the Hingham Community Center, which is managed by the Hingham Community Center Board of Directors. Built in 1718 and listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the project will restore the exterior, repair porticos, replace siding, and repoint fireplaces and chimneys. The Hingham Community Center is a nonprofit and receives no town funding, making CPC support essential. And then lastly, we have the committee recommends $333,500 for the PRS basketball courts project. And this was submitted by the Hingham Recreation Commission. This is the only covered outdoor court in Hingham, and it is used extensively throughout the year. While referred to as the PRS basketball courts, it is actually on town property and is managed by the rec department. So it is appropriate that the rec department would oversee this project. The project will stabilize and repair the roof structure and rebuild the court surface. The PRS PTO is also donating $10,000 in support of the project. And that is what we have. Do we have any questions?
Well, excellent. First of all, Nancy, I know how much work goes into these projects every year. So I wanted to thank you and your committee for the great work you did. These are fantastic projects. Every one of them is worthwhile, and it's a great use of our financial resources, in my opinion. So thank you and your committee for all you did.
Thank you.
So I'm obviously going to start with Julie, because Julie was the CPC chair for many years. So let me turn it over to Julie first.
A topic that makes me very happy, the Community Preservation Act. And thank you, Nancy, for stepping in and running the CPC this year. I know it's in good hands, and the committee is full of members from across the town and across town committees who do great work. And I know that you don't leave any stone unturned when you're looking at these applications. It's a really thoughtful and thorough process. So thank you. I think it's a nice variety of projects proposed for town meeting this year, and I think that they're all worthy projects. I like in the admin fund, it's not really exciting, but it is exciting in terms of budgeting, because the community preservation dollars can help pay for an admin who is also supporting the planning department. So it's a nice share of resources that the operating budget doesn't have to bear all of that. And yet your committee, with all of the work that you do, gets to have admin support from town hall, which is very important. So just a quick question about the Iron Horse restoration. Do you know if that restoration, they're going to be doing it on site, right? Like they're not proposing to move it, right?
Correct. So it's going to be on site. There is hope that that if they can get the ball rolling quick enough, that it will actually be done before July 4th and the Rev 250 celebrations that are going to be happening down on the waterfront. So I'm hoping for them that comes to fruition.
Okay. I think
and the cost, Julie, also just as a note, sorry, the cost does include securing the site from a safety standpoint while the restoration is happening.
Okay. I know that usually the way that recent years, the dollars have been structured to become available at the beginning of the fiscal year. So I guess I'll let historical figure out that balance of accounting. And the other project that I know that we've had questions in the past about funding different repairs necessary at the Thaxter Street apartments. And this kind of application is preserving the asset, the affordable housing asset, essentially, by putting on a new roof or helping put money towards putting on a new roof, correct?
Correct. And the Commonwealth, through the HDC, I believe in 2013, might have been 2016, actually released a memo relating specifically to using CPC funds on housing authority properties. And the roof projects and building envelopes, because it is for the preservation of these existing assets, which are so important through towns and municipalities throughout the Commonwealth, that has been determined and is settled law that this is appropriate use of CPC funds.
Great. No further questions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Julie. Liz, any questions?
Well, thank you to the committee for all their tremendous work here, and thank you, Nancy, for your leadership, stepping in and running with it as expected.
Committee in town.
It's a fun job. Yeah, it sounds like really valid, great projects. Thrilled to see the diversity of projects. It looks like you really optimized the funds available this year. In some years, I know we don't have projects to use all the funds and they roll over. So glad to see the money being put to good use. We know the basketball court needs to be fixed. I'm assuming that obviously during school time, the PRS students are utilizing it, but that is rec and town property, so the public can use those courts, correct? For that court?
Correct. It is technically, it's a funny sight lines, because the playground is actually on PRS property or school property, but that they call it the barn, the basketball enclosure is on town property. But because of its location, it is used quite extensively by PRS students during the school day. I can tell you as an abutter, it is used constantly by the entire town. But the PRS PTO does use it as part of their field day. So that was the impetus for them to also contribute part of that, which we were very thankful for.
Yes, grateful to the PTO and their good work. And thank you for the commitment to affordable housing. Always like to see us giving more than the required 10%. I think that's a commitment we've made as a town and thrilled to see that. Do you have any concerns about their full request not being met?
No, I've talked actually to Jack about that and encouraged them to continue to come back next year. The committee did vote to use all of the balance of the funds we put completely into the trust, so that we were in accordance with that. I will also tell you that I've been doing a fair amount of research on the town meeting votes since we enacted the act in 2001. And town meeting, I'm happy to report, has been very supportive of community housing throughout the tenure of working with this act. And we are just under 20% of the funds. And so that does not include the 600,000 from this year, but of the 20%, about 20%, just like I said, it's like 19.58% of community preservation funds have been put to community housing. So we've doubled what the requirement is from the state.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great work. No other questions.
All right, Julie, Liz, thank you. I'll turn it over to Carol.
Thank you, Bill. Nancy, echo everybody's thank you and great presentation. I really just have one question. It was all very clear. Can you remind me what the learner debt is? I know I should know that, but I don't remember.
No, that's okay. The learner property is the piece of property that it runs parallel to Main Street and basically is behind Wilder, if you think about it from there. It is accessible to the town off of, I always get them mixed up whether it's South Pleasant or Pleasant. I think that one's South Pleasant, whichever one is.
It's South Pleasant.
That's South Pleasant, thank you. It's accessible to anyone. There's actually an entrance, there's parking on South Pleasant Street, and you can access the learner property. The town was encouraged to take on that debt for one reason. One is that, that is an important stretch of road for the community. But more importantly, all of the water tables that feed the free street wells, it all lie in that. There's that whole aquifer sits in that learner property. So it was a very compelling to the town to purchase this property to protect the quality of water in town.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nancy. It's the only question I have. Thank you. Should I leave it back to you do we have any hands up, I guess, is the next AdCom?
I see Brenda's hand.
Brenda's hand is up.
Oh, yep.
I know in past years there has been money that hasn't been appropriated because there weren't appropriate projects. Does this year's appropriation cover all of the money currently available, or is there still some from previous years?
This covered all of the money that we have available.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I do not see any. I think we're set.
All right. Thanks very much. Any members of the public have any questions or comments for Nancy? All right. Seeing none. Nancy, thanks very much for the presentation. AdCom, thanks for joining us. Always great to see everybody. I'll give you both a minute to adjourn your meetings if you'd like.
Yep, I was just gonna say, we're gonna suspend our meeting and reconvene on the Zoom for the AdCom. Thank you.
And I will adjourn the meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody. All right, I think it makes sense to go to our agenda item 6, right? Because this follows on to the previous discussion. So let me, agenda item 6 is FY26 Community Preservation Grant Agreements. And I'm going to turn it over to Emily.
Oop. Hi, so sorry. Didn't expect to be speaking about this, but it looks like Nancy's dropped off. So anyways, the FY26 grant agreements, this is kind of a perennial agreement that the select board executes or votes on. There were last year, if you could bear with me just a moment. A number that you will have to vote to authorize the chair to execute grant agreements for. The first relates to administrative funds. You heard Nancy introduce that for this upcoming year. It's the same for last year, $40,000. The second is related to a $700,000 grant agreement that town meeting authorized for the Affordable Housing Trust to be used for community housing purposes. Another was related to a $600,000 grant from the Community Preservation General Fund for historic preservation purposes to be used for the Historical Society for the Old Ordinary Campus. I will say that something that's a little bit more unique, about that is that in conjunction with that grant agreement, the town also required a historic preservation grant agreement. And then, I'm sorry. Are you seeing my screen by chance?
Not yet.
We're not seeing it. And
okay.
I apologize.
No. Nancy, were you prepared to speak about this?
Where just the three grant agreements?
Well, yes. I think introduced the three.
All right. So the Affordable Housing Trust, that grant is for the $700,000 that was approved at town meeting last year. The Old Ordinary rehab project put forward by the Hingham Historical Society for $600,000. That had a contingency on it in the grant agreement, in the CPC grant agreement, that required that the Historical Society get the town approval for a historic restriction. So the town has to have the historic restriction in place. That has been a longer process than I think most of us thought it would be. But Susan Murphy has signed off on that, as well as the legal counsel for the Historical Society. So we have the signatures in place for the historic restriction. Interestingly enough, we also updated the historic restriction on the Benjamin Lincoln House. So both the historic restrictions for those properties now are in line with the verbiage, the most current verbiage required by the state for those historic restrictions. So we're in good shape to we feel that they have met the requirement that was within the grant agreement. And with the select board signatures, we'll move to reimburse them for that or put that grant into place. And then the third one is the pickleball courts, again, for the Hingham Recreation Commission. And that one was for $758,640. And that there's no special contingencies on that.
Nancy, thank you very much. And
Yep.
Emily, thank you as well. Liz, any questions?
Thank you, Emily and Nancy. No real questions on the grant agreements, just the vote language. Apologies if I missed this, but there's no reference to paying that admin fee in the vote language. Should there be? Or is that coming from somewhere else because maybe it's not a grant agreement?
I'm so sorry. I apologize if I haven't seen the actual vote language. I understood that there was a grant agreement for the administrative funds.
So I think what we're going to vote on tonight would be to approve awards pursuant to Article 21 of the 2025 ATM.
So that would be all of them?
Yeah, so that would include Hingham Affordable Housing Trust Opportunity Fund, Hingham Affordable Housing Trust net proceeds, the Old Ordinary Campus Improvement Project, and pickleball. So Liz is right. The admin cost is not in our language this evening. I'm sure we could add it, or we could take it up on Thursday. Tom, what are your thoughts on that?
So Tom, my sense, and I apologize, I think this is one of those perennials that the select board hasn't routinely voted on. There hasn't been a grant agreement for. John Coughlin recommended that there be one this year. And I don't have the details about that. So if you want to bump that one till Thursday, that is totally acceptable.
We have had grant agreements for the admin fund before. I just looked in my hard drive and I pulled up the one from 2023. So that's a good catch, Liz, that it's not in what we're voting for or what we've seen for tonight, but maybe, Emily, like you said, maybe we could do that Thursday night.
And I apologize.
No problem at all. Yeah, no problem.
Julie,
now that I think of it, though, we can't do it Thursday night because it's going to be we're going to be outside the 48 hours. Well, we can do it next Tuesday. I mean, there's no rush on this one, I don't think. And
that one there wouldn't. Yeah. The only one that's the time sensitive, it would be the Old Ordinary, in my opinion. The Julie, just from a historical perspective, if we do a grant agreement for the admin fund, which I wasn't aware of, we don't have to do anything for the debt payment, correct?
No, I don't think so. Here, let me look up.
Because that's just a requirement. I mean, I think that's probably already taken care of when we took the original article, right?
When we originally bought the land in 2016, that was the original grant agreement. So now.
So this is just the payment of that. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my interpretation. I don't know if Emily, you feel differently, but I don't
No.
remember a grant agreement in the past being for paying the lien or debt.
Agreed.
Okay.
All right.
And
So,
the reporting to the CPA, you only do it the year you take on the debt.
Yeah.
Right.
all right. So this is what I'm going to recommend we do. I think we should delay the vote, just the vote on this issue, on until next Tuesday. If there is urgency with voting, we can do a special meeting on Friday morning. It'll be one item agenda. Does the old ordinary campus improvement project, do they need funds within the next couple days, or is that just something? No, okay.
Is there a way we can do these 3 grant agreements just to get them done and just
And add the separate one?
add the admin fee to your next meeting? Because there's, you know, the admin fee won't, it
I
does,
think we could do that and just do a separate vote for the admin fee.
I think that I would appreciate that.
Okay. If we need to revote it, we can, but let's do that. Any concerns with doing it that way, Julie or Liz?
No, I like doing what we have for tonight, and then we can
Okay.
just tack on and add to a future agenda. And it's not super time sensitive, but like Nancy mentioned, it's more time sensitive for the old ordinary.
Excellent. Okay.
We want to vote on Article M this evening, correct?
I'm going to go back to Article M. I missed it, but we're on item 6 right now, so I don't want to confuse them, and I apologize. I will go back to that after this one. So thanks for picking it up. So we're looking at item 6, which is the second page of the vote sheet, which is the FY26 Community Preservation Grant Agreement. You see it?
I do. I will make a motion to authorize the chair to execute Community Preservation Committee grant agreements to implement the awards approved pursuant to Article 21 of the 2025 Annual Town Meeting for the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust Opportunity Fund, the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust Net Proceeds, Old Ordinary Campus Improvement Project, and Pickleball Courts.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. The motion carries unanimously. That will take me back to item 5 on our agenda. Are you ready to? We should vote it tonight. We did. The agenda did reference possible vote. I'm ready to proceed with a vote. Liz, how do you feel about it?
I'm ready to proceed.
Julie?
I'm ready to vote.
All right, then I would make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article M.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Nancy and Emily, thanks a lot. You're welcome to stick around for some other good discussions if you'd like.
I just scrolled to the very bottom of my cheat sheet, and I am in fact done now.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so now we're going to return to agenda item 4, and we will take up Article X, which is the real estate transfer fee. So, Tom, I think you're going to run point on this one for us.
I can, yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. The real estate transfer fee is a revenue generation concept that became popular in Massachusetts several years ago, though it has been used elsewhere in the country for longer. The concept is to assess a fee equal to 1% of the purchase price on property sold in Hingham, exempting any portion of the price that falls under 80% of the median assessed property value in town. In 2025, that median assessed property value was $863,000. The revenue raised through this program would be earmarked for affordable housing until such time as the town meets or exceeds the state's affordable housing goals, currently set at 10%, at which time the revenue would be available for any legal purpose. As of today, Hingham's affordable housing count is in excess of this 10% goal, which is great, but that percentage has been declining over recent years. In the event that we'll need to meet that affordable housing goal set by the state in the future, it should be noted that property in Hingham is very expensive, and our Affordable Housing Trust would, I think, struggle to buy enough property to meet these goals without additional funds. For Hingham in 2025, this program, if instituted as it's currently contemplated, would have generated approximately $2.7 million in revenue for the town, up from the projected $2.3 million when studied in 2022. Most, I believe all of the communities that have submitted a home rule petition for this purpose are currently in review by the legislature, and several have been for many years as the state attempts to figure out a best path forward. One of those paths could be to allow home rule petitions as they were drafted, but we don't know what the state will do yet. This initiative was a recommendation of the Sustainable Budgeting Task Force. And anecdotally, I just throw out there, as many people will remember, the town recently passed a nearly $8 million operating tax override. The costs of local government are escalating at a very rapid rate. Costs of doing business, including labor, supplies, consulting, et cetera, are increasing well above the 2.5% allowed by Prop 2.5. So in order to meet the needs of our community on an ongoing basis and keep Hingham as it has been, and not to have to do an override every 5 or so years, which is what Prop 2.5 contemplates, this type of revenue option would be welcome and could be important. This article would allow the town to submit legislation to the state in the form of a home rule petition for the purposes set forth in the article.
Tom, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'll start off a little bit here. So, I mean, this came up a couple of years ago. I think it was my my second year on the board. And I really feel strongly that we, as the chief executive board in town, need to come up with other ways of generating revenue. And we just don't have a lot of other ways to do it. Like this year, we're gonna talk about maybe selling some town buildings. But the reality is, the way that Hingham and other towns raise money is through property tax increases. And I continually hear from residents how burdensome and how crushing property taxes are to them. This is an alternative. The costs of town government are not going down. Healthcare costs are going up. We talked about that earlier. Costs related to collective bargaining are going up. They are increasing well above the 2.5%. We have capital needs that are coming down the pipeline. We all know that. We have a lot of different ways. We don't have a lot of different ways that we can generate revenue. This is one of them. Other communities that have implemented this, Nantucket being one of them, has benefited significantly from this extra money, right? We have, I believe it's 8 towns who have petitions pending within the legislature right now. I did speak with Senator O'Connor and briefly with Representative Moschino, and they did emphasize the fact that a lot of that legislation does require an affordable housing component to it. I believe we've got that. I believe that we have exempted some first-time home buyers and also costs under a certain percentage. But this could be a very, very important source of revenue for our town that could really help us going forward. I spend a lot of time following, obviously, what's going on in our town, but I follow a lot about other towns on the South Shore. Our neighboring towns, our peer towns, they are hurting. I mean, costs are significant. Luckily, we're in pretty good shape, particularly this year, but costs are going to continue to come. And this is one way that we can look at this and raise additional revenue. And I know this came out of the Sustainable Budget Task Force recommendations a couple of years ago. And I think this would help us a lot. And we could finally try to pivot from using property taxes as income sources to support the growing needs of our municipality. I understand there's some caution out there about putting this fee into place. I'm going to be very, very interested in what our advisory committee opines on the issue. I'm going to follow that discussion to see where they land on it. We have a lot of very, very smart financial people on that committee. I am interested in their opinion, but I do think it's important for this board to advance discussion and alternatives to property tax increases. So I was for it a couple of years ago. I'm still for it today. And I think it's a very creative way to do it. And again, it would be borne that the fee is borne by the buyer, not the seller within the community. I think that's also an important point. So with that, I'll turn to Liz.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Tom, for the presentation. This, as mentioned, was studied by the Sustainable Budget Task Force in the final report. Well, the analysis that was done, this was one of the revenue generating tools or ideas that we looked at. As Bill mentioned, Nantucket passed this in 1983, and they've raised over $50 million in revenue since then. I think understanding that if we had this real estate transfer fee in place in 2025, we would have raised 2.7 million is significant. And while we are looking at ways to generate revenue, like selling property, this has the most significant potential. This was recommended by the task force to further study because it does represent one of the largest potential new revenue streams that was identified through that research. So I think it's worth looking at. I think it's worth pursuing, again, having the discussion with advisory committee, receiving feedback from community members. This actually was an idea brought to the Sustainable Budget Task Force by a resident. And I think it's a creative way that can help us generate revenue. We don't want to only have a tax override as our only tool to generate revenue. So we are very actively, aggressively looking at other ways to generate revenue in a meaningful way. And I think this really has the single most potential impact for us. So I'm very much in favor of moving forward. Obviously, this is one step in the process. It would have to obviously be approved at town meeting and then by the legislature. So this is not a quick fix, but I think it's important to start the process knowing that this may take a while to implement.
Let me turn to Julie.
Thank you. So the real estate transfer fee, I have done a lot of research on this issue in recent weeks. I've also considered this idea years ago. The article came before the select board and the advisory committee back in 2022. And there was spirited discussion about this kind of proposal then. And while at the time I did not weigh in on this article because I was the AdCom chair and I wanted to facilitate discussion among the members, and it was a good discussion, but then the article ended up getting withdrawn. So these are some things that I've been thinking about to do with this transfer fee proposal. First of all, I just want to stress that this real estate transfer fee is not actually a real thing yet. It is 19 towns have passed their own home rule petitions for a real estate transfer fee, and they have sent along these petitions to the legislature for approval, and all are still pending, some since 2019. And in a moment, I'll touch on what specifically those towns have been asking for, which is actually different from Hingham's proposal this year. But I want to stress that this transfer fee article is to allow the home rule petition to bring to the legislature. So even if we passed at town meeting this Article X, that, like Liz said, there's a long road ahead. It's a step in a road that has not been completed by other towns yet. So the town of Hingham will not anytime soon realize any revenue for the real estate transfer fee until this passes at the State House. So in favor of this article, yes, it's a fantastic way to raise revenue, avoid increasing property taxes on town residents. I think that it's a worthy goal. The Sustainable Budget Task Force obviously studied this. It's a group that was very thoughtful in studying all ways of finding revenue for the town. And so I recognize that, and a 1% transfer fee would generate significant revenue for the town. The way this article is structured is that we would put these dollars first towards maintaining our requirements to maintain a minimum of the 10% affordable housing units in town. The funds would go to the Hingham Affordable Housing Trust to continue their work that they've been doing for many years towards maintaining, at the very least, maintaining this percentage in our town. And then any other remaining funds, say we are at our 10% minimum, any other, those funds would fall actually to the general fund, which could be used for one-time expenditures, probably mostly capital improvements, right? Because we can't use general fund revenue to fund the operating budget. But if the town realizes a steady stream of this general revenue, then it could use it on capital expenses. And I understand that then therefore we could maybe reduce in our operating budget the line item for capital outlay. So those funds could be freed up for other expenditures in the operating budget. Currently, the town is above, but very close to the 10% number. So any real estate transfer fee right now would all fall to the general fund. So what are the other towns that have been asking for this real estate transfer fee? Those 19 towns are Amherst, Arlington, Boston, Cambridge, Chatham, Concord, Falmouth, Nantucket, all 6 towns on Martha's Vineyard, Provincetown, Somerville, Truro, Wellfleet, and recently Barnstable County as a county have voted in favor of this petition. So all these towns, except for 3, are asking for the real estate transfer fee to exclusively fund affordable housing only. At the State House, there is also a current bill sponsored by State Senator Joan Comerford to exclusively fund affordable housing. And there have been 5 previous bills related to this affordable housing real estate transfer fee since 2017. So I just wanted a point of interest, and I won't take much more time, but of interest to all the communities who are trying to build more affordable housing and need the revenue from this real estate transfer fee have also all adopted the Community Preservation Act. And between 2020 and 2024, they spent proportionally 58.2% of their CPA funds on housing. These towns have come to the conclusion that they will raise a whole lot more revenue for affordable housing by adopting the transfer fee. And in Hingham, since its adoption in 2001 of the Community Preservation Act, as we learned tonight from the presentation from Nancy McDonald, that the percentage of CPA funding grants for housing has been just shy of 20%. So here's my concern. Hingham's petition would be very different and out of line compared to other communities, and that's been giving me pause. There's an equity issue of placing the burden on people trying to come live in Hingham. This fee raises the hurdle to buy a home in Hingham. And given the cost of housing and buying homes these days, some buyers, they're going to have to get a really large mortgage. And yes, this fee could be part of that mortgage, but if they're paying it over 30 years, they're also paying interest essentially on this fee. So my recommendation, like I said, the article came before town or the select board and AdCom in 2022. And the discussions ended in removing the article with hopes of studying the issue and coming back. And to my knowledge, I don't think that there's been a lot more study on this issue in the interim. And since then, no other town, like I said, those 19 communities who have submitted passed their own town meeting, a home rule petition, the legislature has done nothing with them. And just some items to consider and further study: the effect on commercial and residential real estate, regionalization. Can we make this petition along with neighboring communities? Can we work on getting more input from residents of the town? Could we consider a first-time home buyer exemption? Because although this fee would be borne by the buyer, it's the sellers in this town who have lived in Hingham, who have enjoyed the increase in equity in their homes. I've talked to a realtor. Sale prices have jumped 50% from 5 years ago. And just in closing, Hingham has long prided itself as being a cautious adopter of new initiatives. I don't see our peer communities proposing this transfer fee at this time and in the way that we're proposing it, meaning that it's not 100% for affordable housing. And so I don't feel comfortable going out ahead of the pack on this issue in this forum at this time. So thank you.
Great. Thank you both for your comments. All right, let's take some public comment. We'll start with Lissa Tully. How are you, Lissa?
Mute. I think you can hear me now.
We can hear
Melissa
you loud and clear.
29 Back River Road. Um, just to be unhumble, I think I was the originator of this idea, and I think Tom Mayo will concur with me. And part of it is that I live in the Back River condos right next to Bear Cove. Lived through the property being bought for the Cove for 12 million. Went through 3 years of construction of that. I'm walking my dog out there and hear that it sold for 140 million in 2021, 3 years after it was built. A transfer fee on that would have generated $1.4 million. So I look also to the commercial potential income. The Stop and Shop property over across from me has sold twice in the last 5 years for 40 million or so. My concept on this was trying to find another source of income for the town so that we did not have to continually look at capital overrides. My concept was it would go to capital. Part of that concept was not affordable housing because with the Cove, we reached our 10%. And I can see as an avenue going into the State House that you want to include that affordable housing, but we are at that 10%, should be at that 10% through 2030 when they do it every 10 years. And it is something that I think we should be able to maintain with good management over the coming years, that we still comply with that 10%. I'm not sure in the article in Tom's presentation whether or not commercial property is included in this warrant article, and I haven't read it completely myself, but I strongly suggest that that be included. We have the Talbot's property, which is someday fairly soon going to come up for sale. And there's a lot of opportunity. The properties in Hingham go for a very high amount because the town is well run. We keep up all of our facilities. We do pass these capital overrides that make it an enviable place to live. When it was originally proposed, I think in 2021, the objections, I think from Bob Curley and Andy McElhaney predominantly, was that it would eliminate first-time buyers or make it difficult to come in. I think we found a solution to that. And I would even suggest that we should do a graded amount up 1%. And then there are properties in Hingham that have gone for 11 million recently that we could up. That's just my opinion, but I think we could up that. As far as it being a buyer's, in the warrant article, it suggests buyers, but we've all been involved in real estate transactions. That's a fungible number, goes back and forth as to who's paying what, and the final cost probably is being borne by both. But it does pay forward for buyers coming in and pay backwards for people who have benefited from the town of Hingham and the increase in their town values. So I strongly urge you to look at this. And I think that even though there are a number of these articles at the State House right now, it's beginning to have a snowball effect. Everybody, every municipality is struggling to meet their operating budgets. And I think that more towns will be looking to do this. And I think it's beginning to have the support of the governor, in addition to the different municipalities applying for this. So I strongly urge you to go forward with this and to use the funds for non-reoccurring expenses.
Lisa, thank you very much for your comments. Anybody else like to offer any comments or have any questions about this agenda item? All right, seeing none. All right, then I would make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article X. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. I would note for the record, I'm an aye. Liz?
Aye.
Julie? Oh, you muted, just to come off mute.
I'm a no. Sorry.
All right, motion carried 2-1. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is Article G, transfer from the stabilization fund. I think I'm gonna turn it over to Katie.
Hi, just juggling roles here. All right. So next up is transfer from the stabilization fund. This is been a perennial article for a little bit. The transfer that's being recommended in this Article G is a transfer from a stabilization fund that was established years ago and funded at the time from bond premiums related to issuances from school capital projects. The current balance on the capital stabilization fund is 1.7 $7 million. The recommendation, I'll show you the graph that sort of talks a little bit more in detail. So this is the graph that we use to sort of depict the conversation as it relates to the stabilization fund. This is the blue bars represent the net excluded debt that the town has currently approved. And the pink bar is the stabilization fund that we're talking about using by the mechanism of this article to offset a portion of that debt service related to excluded debt, hence lowering the impact to the community in terms of the tax impact. The proposed amount in terms of the stabilization fund for FY27 is $178,836. That's in line with previous year's recommendations. The only thing that I would note is that as any stabilization fund, the balance accrues interest income into that stabilization fund account. To date, there is a little bit over $300,000 in that stabilization fund in investment income. We're not recommending for FY27 the utilization of that investment income, but in future years, should the need arise in terms of mitigating tax impacts from excluded debt, there is that option to use that $300,000 for modeling purposes. Right now, we've included that amount in 2029, but that could be pulled forward or pushed back based on the recommendations of the AdCom as we go forward. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions.
None for me, Liz.
No questions. Thank you, Katie.
Julie?
I just want to note, I think maybe you said this maybe at the beginning, but that the stabilization fund was created for offsetting the debt for the building of the new East Elementary School and repairs at Foster and Plymouth River, and then the high school fields phase, etc. So this is kind of the original stabilization fund from years ago. Yes,
that is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And I do like the idea of use of the stabilization fund and the other stabilization funds that we see here on the screen in ways to mitigate tax impacts. So I'm in support of this article.
Thank you. Kate, anything else to
add? Nothing else to add from my end.
Great. Any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? Seeing none, I take a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article G, transfer from the stabilization fund.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to Article AA, which is transfer from the capital project costs and debt service stabilization fund. So AA. Yeah.
Great. So this is a corollary conversation to the one we just had. This is a more recent fund that was established by the town. It was funded through transfers from fund balance to the tune of $7 million. Over the last several years, the town in the chart that we've been talking about has appropriated in FY25 $1 million, and then in FY26 $2.2 million. For FY27, we're recommending for consideration a $2.3 million appropriation from the stabilization fund. Again, the purpose for this CPC DSS fund is specifically to offset the impacts of foster and public safety, which is the majority of the blue bar that's depicted in terms of the debt service from the excluded debt. The fund, as I said, was funded to the tune of $7 million. The current balance on the fund is a little over $4.7 million. What's being recommended for FY27 is the appropriation of $2.3 million. That would leave, obviously, the balance to be appropriated. What's currently being modeled right now, and again, this could be changed based on recommendations, is appropriating $2 million in FY28 and the final balance of $492,000 in 2029. The reason I mentioned sort of the out years, although you're just considering FY27, is that what's being depicted right here in terms of the green bar shows the use of the accumulated interest income, which totaled a little bit over $900,000. So for FY27, the recommendation being considered is $2.3 million. And then the balance of the fund, as being depicted in 28 and 29, would use not only the contributions originally plus investment income that is accumulated in that stabilization fund. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions.
I have no questions. Thank you. Julie, any questions?
No questions. I just like to see that we're implementing and carrying out the promise to town meeting when we pass the public safety facility and foster school debt exclusions. So this looks great to me. Thank you.
Great. Liz?
No questions. Exactly. This is what we committed to, and the plan is working. So thank you, Katie.
Great.
Any members of the public have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I take a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article AA, transfer from the capital project costs and debt service stabilization fund.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to item 7 on the agenda, which is FY27 departmental budget requests. And we're going to first start with Medicare. And Katie, you mind taking this one as well?
Yeah, yep. I'm just share my screen. So I'm going to skip to the chart at the end. So as you're all aware, Medicare employment tax is for all municipal and school employees. The costs are budgeted based on personnel expenses for both school and town employees at gross wages times 1.45%. So what is being recommended in terms of the FY27 budget of $1,357,000 and is a representation of that estimate for all budgeted personnel wages for town and schools. That's a 4.9% increase over FY26, which was a similar calculation and in line with what we're seeing in terms of overall compensation increases.
Thank you, Katie.
Yep.
Julie, any questions?
No questions.
Liz?
No questions. Thank you.
I don't think no motion tonight. All right. So Katie, thank you. Let's go on to debt service.
Okay. So I'm going to again scroll to the I'll go to the chart here, which sort of gives a high level picture in terms of what the trend has been. So what we're talking about with total debt service here tonight is both the debt service for excluded and non-excluded debt. So this is the cost to the town before the offsets that we just talked about in Article G and Article AA. For FY27, we're talking about $13.83 $13.89 million. That is flat relative to FY26. That is in part, it's 1.4% increase, but it is relatively flat relative to FY26. That is due in part to the fact that we only had roughly $15 million in new money that was put into the borrowings that were issued by the town of Hingham in February. And in addition, thanks to the efforts of and support of the select board, we had the refunding bond, which was the refinancing that we did on the 2015 bond that saved us on average about $100,000 in debt service for the community. So as a result, we were able to capture all of that. This projected budget represents the issuance, as I mentioned, that we just did at the end of January and approved in February. So it is our actual borrowings that the town of Hingham has made based on the authorizations. So I'll sort of scroll to the detail. The detail in the budget book captures all of the debt service and interest by major project. So you'll see all the different issuances that we've had outstanding to get to the total that I was referring to before of the 13.893 million for FY27. That 13.893 million is roughly 11.6 million in excluded debt service and 2.3 million in non-excluded debt service. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions that I can answer relative to debt service.
Thank you, Liz. Any questions?
No questions. Thank you, Katie.
Julie?
Katie, thank you. Can you just clarify that this 13.9 million from that amount, you would subtract the stabilization fund amounts that we just voted on to come up with the true debt payment, debt service, or am I getting that not right?
You're getting it right. The mechanism is that we are appropriating the full amount in Article 6, but then in the subsequent articles, G and AA, the town will be voting to offset that amount by the stabilization fund and the CPCDSS funds. So you're correct. The net amount that will impact the town budget is the gross amount that I'm describing here, the 13.893 less the two stabilization funds.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Excellent. Any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Katie, thanks very much for your work.
Yep.
Well done.
Katie.
All right, next item on the agenda is appointments and or reappointments. I do have a potential appointment. I think I'm going to hold it till Thursday night. Liz and Julie, do you have any appointments this evening?
I do not.
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm going to hold mine till Thursday night. I want to check something real quick. And I'll now move to public comment. Do any members of the public have any public comment for items not on the agenda this evening?
Sure not.
Seeing none, I'll turn to Town Administrator Select Board reports. Katie, anything put out tonight?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Art?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Tom?
I don't want to steal anyone else's thunder, but I just want to note how proud I am of both the DPW and HMLP. But if you guys want to speak to that, like I said, I don't want to steal thunder.
I think we're all going to speak to it.
Worth repeating.
Yeah.
All right, Julie, go ahead. Steal his thunder.
Ditto, ditto, ditto.
All right.
I'm just really pleased with all of the hard work from our town employees over the last couple of days. It's been really tough. And I know that we have town employees who do not live in Hingham who are still experiencing issues. So I'm sorry about that. And anyway, the Hingham residents are grateful. Thank you.
Liz?
Yes, sincere gratitude to DPW, HMLP, police, fire, all of our facilities, staff. Really everyone in town has pulled together to get through a really monumental storm. We don't have to talk about the blizzard of 78 anymore. So
That's right.
here we are. So
Yeah.
We still
Yes,
will.
great job. Yeah, we still will. No, thank you.
We
to
always will.
everyone. I just also want to say good luck to our high school teams that are in the playoffs. We have girls basketball, girls hockey, and boys hockey. So best of luck to them.
Excellent, great. Obviously, I want to ditto what everybody is saying about the great work. People know where I live, so that's kind of a main street. Plows were going by my house 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning the other day. I mean, the dedicated efforts of Ashley and her team are phenomenal. The police cruisers I saw going by, the fire department response to incidents in those conditions, amazing. HMLP, amazing. And while we're kind of warming our houses, they're all out doing great work for the town, and I couldn't be more proud of our town and the team for what they do for us. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz,
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
All right, before I act on the motion real quick too, we are gonna meet on Thursday night, so people know that. And lastly, I do want to add too, I forgot to say this earlier, is I know there's no school tomorrow. The DPW is prioritizing sidewalk cleaning operations tomorrow. So sidewalks were prioritized tomorrow. Very much anticipating school on Thursday. I just want people to know that. And with that, I would accept the motion to adjourn. I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. I'll see everybody Thursday night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
We recognize that taking time to visit, call, or email our town departments to report issues in Hingham doesn't always fit your schedule. Are you looking for an easier way to communicate with the town? Well, now there's an easier way. With the My Hingham mobile app, you can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps of your phone. To get started, simply download the My Hingham app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or simply scan our QR code to get the access to the app that's best for your phone. Once you've opened the app, select the Submit a Service Request button. From there, you can choose the type of request you want to submit, whether it's a pothole, a fallen tree, or something else. You'll then be prompted to take a photo of the issue and provide a brief description. You can also use the app to track the status of your issue and receive updates. Using My Hingham puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, information about our boards, committees, departments, and services. So why wait? Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease.